Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So, without further ado, I'd like to jump into this episode's topic, which is the Black woman's resistance to Black masculinity. And when you look at the term resistance, that means to reject, to push away, um, some type of, pushback to an object or an idea. And I wanted to first off with making a small disclaimer that this does not apply to every Black woman, that there are some Black women that have great relationships with the men that surround them. They don't have a problem with male authority or masculinity. And there are some great Black men that, have never displayed some of the things and attributes that I'm going to talk about in this episode. But I'm going to continue because this does not, even though there are some, great relationships between Black men and women, that does not describe the multitude of the everyday Black man and woman. And when you look at the Black woman, she lives in a world, starting off with being a Black little girl, she lives in a world where she's told to be quiet. She's told to hush up. There are other races of women that, cry about, male oppression, but no one's told to be quiet more than the Black woman is. The Black woman, since slavery, has been told, that her pain, her rape, her abuse is non existent. She's overreacting. And I think, it's always hurt from the world, but it also hurts even more from the Black man that has told the Black woman to be quiet and silent, or that she's overreacting, or, oh, here comes another Black, what's the word, drama queen Black woman, as if this doesn't fit any Black man. And I encourage the Black man to understand that this is not a male bashing episode. This is an episode to encourage the Black man to open his heart, open his mind and conscious level to understand the problems that exist between the Black woman, so that the Black woman and Black man can have a better relationship and produce healthier children. So I want to start off by saying that this particular topic I will make as short as possible, but we find more women today who refuse to listen to a man, won't trust a man. They find a sense of security posing or dressing like a man, vocalizing her independence of not needing a male in the house or around her, period. But why? So, why are women doing all these things now? Let's take a trip down memory lane, only to find out that the Black man and woman's current actions are nothing new underneath the sun. It was said in the Willie Lynch teachings on how to make a slave that the Black woman must be dissociated from her natural state of depending on her Black man to an independent state, a frozen state. And a frozen state is a state from where you can't move mentally, not even quite physically, but definitely not mentally, through abuse, rape, and trauma. Okay? It goes on to talk about how the Black woman must be beat and raped into submission, and how it destroys the Black seeds that grow up in fear. So the Black male child is growing up in fear because of the rape and the beatings and the lynchings and murderings of both Black men and women that surrounded him. Yet, how the Black female child was to grow up to endure and be strong for pain and abuse. It also goes on to say how the Black woman must see the Black man be beaten and killed to destroy the image of the Black man. So, you know, basically, so the Black woman will feel helpless. If she's seeing the Black man being killed and beat, you know, um, what she's going to be helpless herself, which once again leaves Black women in this helpless, traumatized, and frozen state. In retrospect, would keep her having slave kids that would be beneficial to future plantation production. And now how we've got the Black male image looking bad to the Black woman is to see him, use such derogatory lyrics about Black women, to see the Black man mocking and making fun with wigs and things of that nature. That's how the Black man now is looking bad in the Black woman's eyes. Always seeing the Black man on TV, or always seeing him in a bad, negative situation in court, being killed or any of that, still to this day. And at one time we could say, hey, the white man was, raping and beating black women and things of that nature. But now what we have is we have black men doing it to our black women. So um, it also goes on to say how the black woman must see the black man be beaten. So we've already went over that, but now one may say that this came from a person who lived 200 years ago or so. So Willie Lynch lived over 200 years ago. He's not here now, okay? But the same methods have become like an automatic washer and dryer or an automatic speed motorboat that now, instead of the slave holder torturing us, we have become conditioned to torture each other, okay? So like I was saying before, the slave master or the slaveholder, was beating and raping the black woman, telling her to be quiet. It doesn't exist. You deserve it. You wanted it. Now we have our own black men, telling us the same thing. You wanted it. That you're nothing more than just sex. These type of things. It's one thing to hear it from the enemy's point of view, but then to hear our own black men um, saying it. So now we're conditioning. So at one time, white slaveholders were torturing us, but now we're torturing each other. And why? Why? Because it keeps us killing each other. It keeps us stagnant and stuck, unable to move ahead while others continue to advance. Okay, so at one time we could say, hey, they were putting their hands directly on us, which there still are some of them. But the issues now is like we're doing it to ourselves more than anyone else. And it keeps us in a cycle where we're attacking each other instead of focusing on the issues that we need to develop to further advance us versus other races always being ahead of us. But let's talk about why the black woman hates the black man's masculinity and what does black male masculinity symbolize to the average black woman. Okay, number one, black male masculinity represents a man able to live double standards, to call and degrade the black woman by calling her horrible names, but never be called bitter for it, okay? So what I mean by that is a lot of times, even when a black woman makes a respectful message or at least tries to come at the black man, asking him to see her point of view for a second, as far as the condition and the way she's being treated, she's called bitter. And, one thing is the human brain and mind has a tendency to yell out when it's being inflicted and in pain. And even though sometimes it hasn't been so nice that the black woman has come out and vocalized her pain, because of a natural reaction, the black man calls her bitter. She's been mocked. Oh, here's another dramatic black woman. Oh, here she comes again with the same old story. Another black woman. Instead of taking the time to really understand where the black woman's coming from and maybe getting together with other black men saying, hey, maybe we need to find a different approach to the black woman. They would rather sit around, further abusing black women emotionally by telling her that her feelings don't exist and that she's just bitter and crazy for it. Meanwhile, there's that double standard of masculinity where a woman can't speak out, a black woman can't speak out about what the black man's doing, but the black man can sure enough come out and say so much about black women without it hardly being any videos or anything made about him being angry and upset and crazy about it. Also, some male relatives beating on the black female child with no help or protection from the ones that are supposed to be the black woman's protectors. Okay, so the same men that are supposed to be the first line of defense for the particular black woman, she has to worry about her being beat and raped inside of her own house and the upbringing, And it's one thing for so many black men to say, "Oh no, that's not me. I'm a protector. I've never did that to my sisters, my nieces, my cousins, or anything like that." But it's too many black women that have this story that are telling the truth for there just not to be any black men doing it inside the house, the mother's boyfriends, the biological fathers, you name it. And the black woman has had to understand as a young girl that she's had to stretch her shoulders as broad as the black boy or man to feel some sense of protection. And I think it starts with a lot of young black girls at a young age versus just being a woman and dealing with the wrong man. This is starting inside of her home, of the traumatized dynamics of the black family. And a lot of black families. So the same person that's supposed to be protective of her is actually inflicting a lot of the abuse on her. Also, Black masculinity has also represented being raped or taken advantage of. And I think in American society, you could find a plethora of articles about, what happens psychologically, mentally, and physically when a male is raped or taken advantage of. But, it's swept underneath the rug. Especially in a society now that claims all women just want to be equal, and just the hatred that's spewed upon Black women. And I think that in turn, a lot of hatred is spewed back to Black men, but it's not talked about the psychological damage that it does to a female child or a woman that is raped and her femininity is taken. So we hear a lot about when the masculinity is taken, but we don't hear a lot about when female femininity is taken from a woman who is being forced to do acts that she doesn't want to do, and how that makes her be in another mental space when the crime and the violence is taken upon her body, and just the different places she may go mentally, and how it really strips her of trusting and being feminine of two men, and how masculinity then represents being outpowered to do something that you don't want to do. So, of course, naturally, a lot of Black women have grown up to be resistant and defiant and to fight back, because then it's like, well, now, I'm grown now. Instead of being a little girl, I'm grown now. I can fight back, versus being that little 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 12-year-old girl who was even weaker than, being a grown woman physically, and able to fight off. And this is what it represents to a lot of women, that I can fight back now. That's what masculinity, Black masculinity, has represented to a lot of women. Also, Black male masculinity represents the regret of trusting it. So, trusting in Black masculinity, especially if the Black man made promises he failed to follow through with, leaving the Black woman feeling foolish for ever trusting him, or vulnerable, feeling the need to never trust him again. And I think, you know, there's a thing, in the Black community, a lot of Black males who have been damaged themselves, they play a game with a lot of Black women of, let me see if I can get her to trust me so that I can crush her. Okay, so that's going on a lot. And then what's happening is, it's not being talked about that a lot of Black women are trying to trust Black men. Maybe the wrong Black men, but there's a lot of wrong Black men to trust from if that's the case. Just like the Black woman needs to change some things about herself, so does the Black man needs to change a lot of things about himself, so that all the men that the Black woman is coming across is not just called, quote unquote, the wrong man to deal with. Okay, and it's leaving a lot of Black women feeling like, hey, in order to be in a relationship with a Black man, I've got to keep my guards up. I've got to play just as many games as he plays, because I don't want to be left feeling foolish or vulnerable, because to show my femininity to especially a lot of Black men who cannot handle a feminine woman, even though they say they do, leaves her feeling vulnerable and foolish and damaged. So she associates being feminine with the masculinity of a man as being played or being gullible. Okay. Also, Black masculinity symbolizes dominance by excessive force towards Black women. And I think with a lot of Black men fighting with their balance in between, not being a soft man, a pushover, versus the balance of, things that can be beneficial to the Black woman and the Black child in the home. A lot of Black men call being masculine, or getting a woman to submit to them, not in being kind and showing her that he can be trusted throughout time, but to quickly force his dominance to a Black woman. Like, for example, if there's a Black woman that's a career woman, he doesn't have a career. Why not go get some skills, to where instead of trying to knock her skill level down, go out and get that skill level herself? A lot of Black men will do something, for example, like cheat with a lot of women so that she can feel insecure, that she's not all that. This is just an example of, what Black masculinity has represented to some Black women, just the dominance by excessive force, okay, towards Black women. It may also represent the slogan of mothers always, daddies maybe, okay, as an excuse to his failure to commit to one family. Because after all, he is a Black man, and that's just a part of a Black man being a man, right? So what I'm saying by this is, I don't know if you've ever heard the slogan, mommies always, daddies maybe. And this is like an excuse, really, that mothers are always going to be there, but you can't expect for a Black man to be there. You can't expect for a man to be there, and they're namely talking about Black men, as this is an excuse for Black men, okay, that he cannot commit to just one family. Okay, so this is part of what black masculinity represents for the black woman, and why they go around always, expecting for the black man to leave, or may push the black man out, um, because just automatically autopilot reject, because it's just been so ingrained in the black woman's head that the black man cannot commit, he cannot stick around, don't expect him to stick around, and they also teach their kids that. And a lot of black women, a lot of black girls, growing up and things of that nature. Um, Also, black masculinity represents that in order to hang around a black man, you had to be offering up sex, never giving a chance never getting a chance to feel comfortable around him or get to know him besides sexual encounters. Okay, so this is what black masculinity represents for a lot of black women as well. That you can't just hang around a guy, a heterosexual guy. With homosexual guys, black men, you can hang around them all day, and they're not asking for sex. They like men. But I'm talking about the heterosexual black man. The masculinity of the black man to black women represents, oh, if you hang around him for just a few minutes, he's going to be wanting sex from you. And it shouldn't be that way. And that's why we have so many children by people that we don't like, we hate, we don't know them, and we never knew them, because both black men and women aren't taking the time out to get to know each other for months and years before making a sound decision to have children by someone, so that you can have a solid relationship. And I think with black women, I think I don't know if I'm speaking just for myself, but I'm sure other black women have, witnessed that a lot of black men, it's hard to just be around them, to hang out, just to have a cup of coffee. Like, even if he does something nice for you, like, I don't know, carry your grocery up the steps or something like that, that he's expecting something in return, and that shouldn't represent black masculinity. That in order to hang around you and have a good time around you, that I've got to be nervous if you're going to try to pressure me for sex. Um, Also, it symbolizes a man vocalizing about the leadership, yet never showing it, and never providing like a leader. So this is what black masculinity represents to black women, that black men want to benefit off of saying that they're head and saying that they're leaders, and they want all the perks to being a leader, but they don't want to carry out the responsibility, and the duty as far as being a provider. And when you back a black man metaphorically into a corner, so you're not actually backing them in a corner, with your questions you're asking. Why is this like this? Why is the black man leaving the home at like this? Why is the black man playing the games that they're playing? They always put it back on, we've been conditioned by white men. But I'm asking for the black man, even though some of this is true, when is he going to stand up and let the buck stop right there? If you're the man, if you're the leader, if you're the head, if you're all these things that God said that the man was supposed to be, when is the buck going to stop, as far as you keep handing over the baton to the white man? If you want to be respected as a man, not a boy, and even though some of that stuff is true, when are you going to fight back? And I'm not even saying always fight back physically, but when are you going to stop letting those things be true? About, even though I think a lot of black men were conditioned to mistreat black women and stuff like that. But when is the black man going to get a mind of his own to say, hey, even though you want me to disrespect my own woman, I'm not going to be paid to do it, and I'm not going to do it? How about that? Also, black masculinity represented a man who sleeps with several women, yet expects his woman or main woman to become void of her own emotions and to deny her own reality just so that she can be called submissive. Okay. So I think that's a big one too. With black masculinity, a lot of black men are saying they want a submissive woman, but this includes a woman that's mindless. She's unaware. She has to deny her own emotions. She has to act like she doesn't see what she sees. She has to deny her own reality, so that she can be called submissive. And, that's nothing about being submissive. In the house is to act like you don't see what you see. There's a certain way that you handle things, but I think black men, a lot of black men feel like they should be able to run around um, and just go everywhere and not have any accountability whatsoever. And I think a lot of black women have associated black masculinity with black men showing no accountability, and feeling like that's okay. The average black girl lives in a world where white girls are taught that their men fight for them. But in a black girl's world, she quickly learns that the black man won't fight for her, but that he will fight her. Okay. So, we can throw out the argument that there's white serial killers, and that most serial killers are white rapists. The history of the white man raping, um, his illogical behavior. But when you look at the white man, a lot of times, when they're raping other races of women, it goes underneath the radar, but they get prosecuted and penalized when they start raping white women, their own women, and their men take it seriously. And I think with the black woman, she just doesn't have that same um, protection, instead of, the black man, putting other black men in check. So if the black man doesn't want a woman to try to come out her place, we need more black men that are willing to, come down on black men for abusing and raping black women, to handle their own men, for the black man to handle his own men, not sit there and clap, not sit there and say that's what that B gets. We need the black man, for him not to just notice the black woman's anger, but to notice the anger inside of himself, that he can see black women being abused and hurt, but he doesn't care because of his own hurt and disappointment at black women, that he will allow other black men to hurt black women without trying to say anything about it. And the world that black women live in, that she not only deals with men that won't fight for her, but the fact that they will fight her. So the same men that are supposed to be protecting her will put their hands on her. The black woman is in a constant state of protecting her body and self from the black man. So she's always feeling like she has to be rigid and protect her own self, and to attack his manhood before he attacks her womanhood. So that's going on a lot. That's why I said we're attacking each other. Because the black man is unpredictable and non-reliable. This causes the black woman to remain psychologically rigid and unable to bend, or what's the word? Compromise, out of fear of being taken advantage of. Black masculinity represents a man demanding to take the role of navigator but lack direction himself. And that's what's going on too a lot, in our communities with a lot of black men. They're saying black women, excuse me, black women won't follow me. She won't do what I say. But before you just want a woman to follow you just for ego's sake, you need to make sure that you have a direction that you're going in. And that's why it's so important for our black boys to have the leadership of their father, and their fathers know the right way to go. And that's why this thing is generational, and that's why it's going to take time for black people to heal, because the black man has to have a purpose. He has to have a drive and determination as to where he's going, the education and things of that nature. He has to have something that he's living for in life, something that's important, a legacy, so that a woman would want to follow his direction, not just for ego purposes. Oh, I got this woman following me to an alley or something like that, or a street corner. No, 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 no. It needs to be more for just ego's sake, that you want a woman to follow your lead. Black masculinity has represented a group of men justifying their acts of abuse and cruelty towards black women. Yet they never discuss ways they can be more effective within their homes and communities. So this is what black masculinity is representing for a lot of black women, that there will be black men on a street corner. There will be groups of black men. So it's not just one black man isolated, but this could be a few black men around. And there's situations where black women have been, you know, uh, beaten on, abused, and things of that nature. And black men will sit around, like I said, and clap and parade and laugh and snicker and jeer at the black woman being attacked. And so this is what masculinity represents to a lot of black women, that not only is she helpless when it comes to violence in the world, but she's also helpless around a group of black men. Okay. And we find with black masculinity, they're able, like I said, they're quick to be violent, but they're not quick to discuss ways that they can manage women more effectively. We don't have councils of black men grouping together, figuring out how they can educate themselves, how they can make their communities and their families better. Okay. And I wanted to now talk about ways that black men can help black women have a more positive perspective about black masculinity, right? Okay. Use your masculinity to protect, not to harm her. Okay? Use it to protect a woman, not to harm her. Be consistent with your masculinity. Don't just be the helper, the provider, the protector one day, and then one day just decide that you don't want to be bothered. If this is the woman that you said that you're going to be with, that you want to provide and have a family with, be that man. Don't get hot and cold. That's one thing that creates, I think, reasonable insecurity in a lot of women is when a man is hot and cold. He's not persistent. Follow through on your word. That's part of being a man. Your word. When you say you're going to do something, go ahead and carry it forth. Refuse to befriend men who abuse women and children. Okay, that's a lot too. Because birds of a feather flock together, and a guy that will befriend men who abuse women and children. That's a way that women, and we're talking about black women, can be non-trusting. Like if they see that you'll be friends with, predators or sex offenders or men that call women the B word, and you're surrounding yourself, and if those men want to be your friend, tell them, encourage them, no, I'm not lame, but I need you to stop talking and disrespecting women. So this needs to be promoted worldwide, for the black woman. Okay, because we don't need to depend on other races of men to treat us with respect, right? We need to depend on you, the black man. The black man needs to come forth with some respect, for the black woman. And I think in turn that the black woman will show the black man more respect. And I think the black woman, for so many decades, has shown the black man respect. But the last 30 years, 20 to 30 years, the black woman has gotten fed up with showing the black man the reverence and respect. But he, keeps putting the excuse out that the white man is attacking him, which may be true, but that he can't find enough self-discipline and integrity to know how to block that and still treat his woman with respect. Show the black woman that you can be her friend without sex. This is a big one. Okay? That the heterosexual black man needs to show the black woman that you can value her, have fun with her, and do things with her according period, a period of no sexual contact, that you can still be cool, have a conversation, pick up the phone, and still show interest in her without sex. This is a good way to help black masculinity. Be the guy in the crowd that discourages a man or men from hurting or attacking a woman. Be the voice of reason instead of cheering on the violence. Okay? Make sure the black woman isn't left with regret of trusting or being feminine with you by betraying her trust. Okay? These are some of the ways that can help ease black women into accepting black masculinity. Just show her that masculinity doesn't equal female subjugation, but female protection for her own safety. Let me know if you're listening on YouTube. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you'd like to hear more content when it becomes available, you can hit the subscribe button. You can also hit the share or like button if you felt what you heard. If you'd like to contribute to the Truth for Trinity, or you want to show financial love and support, you can go to thetruthfortrinity.com and hit the PayPal button. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.